Hello and welcome to this week's special episode of World of Business, your weekly guide to trending business news. It is also on this show that we herald unsung but thriving business entrepreneurs. Now, still in the spirit of entrepreneurship, on this special episode, we want to focus on diaspora-led investments and the growing business relations that have existed between Zimbabwe and the United Arab Emirates. Joining me today is the chairman of the Zimbabwe Business Council, United Arab Emirates, Mr. Simba Makahamadze. Mr. Makahamadze, thank you so much for joining us, and it's our pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
All right, so maybe just to kickstart the conversation, can you tell us more about the Zimbabwe Business Council for the purpose of someone who is hearing this particular word for the first time, Zimbabwe Business Council? What is it about, and what role does it play for Zimbabweans in business?
Yeah, so the Zimbabwean Business Council UAE is an institution that is established and regulated by the UAE government, particularly the Dubai government. Our role is dual in terms of the bilateral relations that are existing between the two countries. We are the voice of the local Zimbabwean-owned businesses in the UAE, and beyond that, we also have a mandate to drive capital from the UAE to Zimbabwe. Then on the inbound side of things, we also have a mandate to help Zimbabwean businesses that are setting up in the UAE, whether it's market access or soft lending. That's part of what we do.
Okay, so I think when people hear the United Arab Emirates, when they hear about business councils like this one, the first thing that comes to mind is that maybe it's a political institution.
So the Business Council is actually a UAE institution. We are regulated by the UAE government, Dubai government in particular. So our results, our KPIs are actually monitored by the Dubai government in terms of what we are doing between the two countries.
Okay, so you also held your annual general meeting on the 18th of April this year, which coincided with Zimbabwe's 46th independence anniversary. Was there a particular reason, maybe sentimental value for you, to have your general meeting on the same day that we are celebrating our 46th independence anniversary?
Definitely. For us, it was symbolic. So beyond being a UAE governed or regulated institution, that same institution is run and led by Zimbabweans. So to us, the bigger picture, the celebration of the 46th anniversary of our independence was important to then ensure that we also have our AGM and take stock of our achievements on the same day.
Okay. So ZIBCO also facilitated strategic investor meetings across different sectors, renewable energy, tourism and manufacturing, is ranging from $10 million to $200 million. Can you walk us through the progress so far? What have you achieved, or what can we look forward?
The conversations happened in June last year, which was the starting point, and we have 5 solid conversations that are still ongoing, and our expectation is to see them through by the end of this year. Okay. What you would understand is that when it comes to these kinds of investment deals, they take a bit of time, whether it's due diligence, whether it's feasibility and all those issues. So these are the conversations that we are facilitating, and our target is to ensure that we close them by the end of the year. I think one of them, they are at a stage where they're about to sign the term sheet. Okay.
So you did speak about the key role of the ZIBCO is facilitating trade between Zimbabwe and the United Arab Emirates. If we look at the exporters in Durban that you hosted, it had about 30 exporters, most of whom were there for the first time to do this particular business. What challenges do Zimbabwean businesses face when it comes to tapping into the UAE market? And you now, as the Zimbabwe Business Council, how are you helping to break these challenges down?
So when we look at the challenges, I think they are dual, they are twofold. There are challenges that are existing from a UAE market point of view, either regulatory or the actual nuances on the ground. But beyond that, what we have also noticed is that for Zimbabwean exporters in particular, UAE is not just the market, it's also the hub where you can also re-export. But capacity and consistency is also a challenge that we have seen from the Zimbabwean side, which means for our producers, for our exporters, they need to come together, they need to collaborate, they need to be able to deliver consistently.
Let's talk about policy. I mean, the monetary policy statement of February this year was speaking about the 30% export retention.
From a private sector point of view and from an experience point of view as the council, what we believe is that exporting, particularly to the UAE, that has become the biggest trading partner for Zimbabwe in terms of exports and in terms of numbers, exporting should be incentivized. And the 30% surrender requirement, it's something that we believe can be reviewed so that it's more accommodating for exporters. It actually challenges them and incentivizes them to export.
Okay. Which particular industries or sectors do you believe hold the greatest untapped potential? What are the investment opportunities in Zimbabwe that the UAE investors are currently targeting?
So in terms of numbers, we have the mining sector, your gold and precious metals leading the numbers, almost 50% of the current trade figures is that. But where the bigger opportunity lies is in agriculture.
Okay.
So if you remember, I mean, the food in the UAE, more than 90% is imported. And that's where our opportunity is. We are good when it comes to agriculture. Our produce is premium. What we require is then to be able to supply that produce consistently.
That's the conversation we're having today with Mr. Simba Makahamadze, the chairman of the Zimbabwe Business Council in the United Arab Emirates. Now we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to discuss trade, finance, and the bilateral relations in existence between Zimbabwe and the UAE and what they mean for the business community in Zimbabwe. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the second segment of this week's special edition of World of Business, where on this particular episode we're discussing investments and the existing bilateral relations between Zimbabwe and the United Arab Emirates. In this particular segment, we're going to speak about trade, finance, and the business opportunities that are there available for ZIBCO and the Zimbabwean community. I'm still joined by the chairman, Mr. Simba Makahamadze. Mr. Makahamadze, there are talks underway to incorporate a local bank in Zimbabwe into the Dubai International Financial Center. The historic moment to have a local Zimbabwean banking institution being incorporated into the DIFC. What does this speak to? What does it mean? What does this particular engagement mean for the business community that is trying to seek trading finance?
So I think for the Business Council first, it's actually a historic moment because we don't have a Zimbabwean financial institution in Dubai. Then for the business community, we are looking at access to trade finance, access to investment advisory, access to market intelligence on the basis of existence of a financial institution in Dubai. So when you look at the trade numbers, like I said, this institution is actually following those trade numbers and to be close to them. So that will simplify the processes for the Zimbabwean business player or for the Zimbabwean exporter.
Okay. Now we've got the DP World Roadshow that is planned for the third quarter of 2026 between Harare and Bulawayo, which I understand is meant to bring global trade opportunities into Zimbabwe. How can people register and what is expected? What are the expected outcomes of this roadshow?
So the roadshow, we are working in collaboration with DP World, one of the biggest logistics companies in the world, run by Dubai government. Now, the roadshow, really, we are looking at the export side of things and the cargo movement side of things. So we will have a Harare leg for the roadshow and a Bulawayo leg for that roadshow. Okay. So we are targeting exporters, not just exporting into the UAE, but even those who are looking at re-export into the region and into Asia, using Dubai as a hub. Okay. But beyond that, we also have discussed possibilities of those Zimbabwean companies setting up in Dubai, being licensed and being handheld in terms of market access in the UAE.
All right, so speaking of achievements and awards, you guys received the Zimbabwe Diaspora Achievers Award in business from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. What does this particularly mean for you and the people that you represent?
So it's quite an important recognition, because what we believe is you can build from anywhere, and you can carry the Zimbabwean brand in any part of the world, which is what we are doing. So that award is actually a recognition of the work that we are doing for, in terms of connecting the Zimbabwean market with the UAE market and moving capital from the UAE to Zimbabwe.
Okay, and are you looking forward to many more awards in the future?
Well, definitely, definitely. We're looking to many of those, not just for the council, but for the members who are also business people. Okay,
and what is your current relationship with our Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Do you have any particular events that you collaborate?
So I will look at the relationship from a UAE point of view. We work closely with our embassy in Abu Dhabi and our consulate in Dubai. So as a private sector-driven institution and a Dubai government-regulated institution, we actually have quarterly meetings with the embassy and the consulate to discuss business-related issues, with us coming from a B2B point of view and with them handling the G2G conversations.
Okay, so you still stand to say this particular council is independent of any political motives whatsoever? It's not a political institution.
100%. So as a UAE regulated institution, there are two things that we are not allowed to venture into. Number one, it's politics. Number two, religion. So any conversations around that, we are not involved. We focus on business, and our regulator requires annual reports in terms of our KPIs, in terms of our deliverables, both from a UAE point of view and from a Zimbabwean point of view.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a short break and continue with the conversation afterwards. That's the insightful conversation we're having today with the chairman of the Zimbabwe Business Council, Mr. Simba Makahamadze, who is here in Zimbabwe for a short visit. Tell us more about the investment opportunities that are there available for Zimbabwe in the United Arab Emirates. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to conclude the conversation. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the final segment of this week's special edition of World of Business, where we are discussing the bilateral relations that are there in existence between Zimbabwe and the United Arab Emirates. And I'm still joined by the chairman of the Zimbabwe Business Council, Mr. Simba Makahamadze. We thank you once again for joining us and for staying with us this far. Now, as we continue with the conversation, Mr. Makahamadze, I understand some critics may want to argue, already you have made it clear that it's not a political council. But some people would want to criticize and argue that what are the tangible benefits that people are actually getting from business groups in the diaspora like this one? Are there tangible benefits that the ordinary citizens are actually getting from this? What would be your response to this?
So, let me be very practical in terms of our response. We are a B2B institution, and the biggest advantage that we have, or the biggest shield that we have, is that we are regulated by Dubai government. But in terms of results on the ground, beyond the investment conversations that we are having, or the exporters conversations that we are having, we do have practical results. So if you go to the Robert Mugabe International Airport now, you will see something coming up there. We facilitated the setting up and investment into Zimbabwe by a high-end luxury retail player, which is a multinational, and they're establishing a Dubai kind of duty-free shops
Okay.
on the airport.
Okay.
And they are going to be employing locally. They are going to be deploying capital here. They are not focusing on the Harare airport only. They are looking at Victoria Falls. They are looking at Joshua Nkomo International Airport in Bulawayo as well.
Okay. And now I want to discuss the future of the Zimbabwe Business Council. At the annual general meeting, you referred to it as a moment of institutional transition. What does the future hold, the future leadership of ZIBCO?
So in terms of leadership, what we believe is that at some point there's going to be a transition, and with that comes the responsibility for the next takers to ensure that the institution continues to build on the value that it's supposed to build, to build on the deliverables that it's supposed to deliver for its members, particularly being a member-driven institution. So that was a call to action for Zimbabwean business people, for Zimbabwean professionals to come on board and be involved, either as commit members, either as volunteers, to drive the conversation and the mandate of the council.
So maybe before we close the program, what opportunities are there available for the Zimbabweans in the UAE? Some people might want to understand what really are the opportunities. Earlier you spoke about the different areas that could generate income even for the nation of Zimbabwe, foreign currency. Which areas should they tap into? What opportunities are there available for someone who is watching and maybe they want to partake in this?
So from a business council point of view, people can join as professional members, as SME members, as corporate members, or as strategic partners. So all those membership categories, they've got specific benefits. And then I think there's a conversation that I can briefly touch on, but is still ongoing for the service providers or for the creative sector. There is the recent business process outsourcing framework that was recently published by ZIDA. And I think it's something that we can also tap into and allow the creatives and service providers from this end to be able to deliver services to businesses in the UAE, to businesses who are members of the Business Council and beyond.
So what key message would you like to leave with the Zimbabweans, particularly with regards to investing in the UAE? What message would you like to leave during a short visit here in Zimbabwe?
So, I mean, when I look at our role, when I look at investment, I would say what we have seen is there are opportunities here that are looking for capital. And for us to be able to draw that capital, we need to be structured in terms of our presentations. I think part of what has taken time in some of the conversations is the information provided for the potential investor, particularly those who are looking at investing in Zimbabwe. So that part is, I think, what is important, and we can also assist in that. And finally, the biggest opportunity is around agriculture and agricultural produce being exported to the UAE and beyond. But for us to be doing that, to be able to do that, we need to collaborate, we need to aggregate, we need to be able to supply in large quantities and consistently.
Okay. So what do you think is the future of investment in Zimbabwe, looking at the bilateral relations that are already in existence between Zimbabwe and the UAE?
The future is quite bright. You see, Emirates Airlines is flying here regularly, and we already have had conversations. And again, Etihad Airways will be flying from Abu Dhabi directly to Harare starting March next year.
Okay.
So that speaks to opportunity, that speaks to value that comes from Zimbabwe as a country. And that value should be commercialized.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Makahamadze, for joining us and for coming to Zimbabwe to share what really the ZIBCO is doing in the UAE, and also to help us understand the bilateral relations that are existing between Zimbabwe and the UAE. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
That was the chairman of the Zimbabwe Business Council, Mr. Simba Makahamadze, who had taken a short visit to Zimbabwe to explain the bilateral business relations that are existing between Zimbabwe and the United Arab Emirates. And that brings an end to this week's special episode of World of Business. Join us again next time.
ZBC News.